Some of the world champions suffer with asthma or other, respiratory issues. You would think that being in the water is not good, but nowadays a lot of doctors also are recommending get into the water. It's the most healthy way to strengthen your lungs. I keep saying raising twins is much harder than even going to the Olympics. When they compete against each other, it's very tough for me. So it's difficult because I can't pay too much attention to the one who's won, and I can't totally baby the one who's lost. I have to find that in between. Pradeep sir is a Dronacharya awardee, national coach for many Olympians. So coaching is one thing. You can give anybody a set of workouts, but to push them to give their best. I think that's helped me realize what kind of coach I want to be.
Hi, I'm Neha of the New Indian Express. From rigorous training and competing in the Olympics to retiring at the peak of her swimming career, Nisha Millet talks about how she embraced change. On the Expression podcast, my guest, who's among the youngest Arjuna Awardees, tells us about her journey of self discovery, her resilience, and how she wants to give back to the sport through her swimming academy. Welcome, Nisha.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. How did you fall in love with the sport as a little girl, and when did you realize or when did you know that you were good at it?
So it wasn't this fairy tale story, that I jumped into the water and I swam like a fish.
Yeah.
It was quite the opposite. I actually had a near drowning experience when I was young. Fell into a small fish pond. Just for a few seconds, my dad pulled me out. I was playing with some friends. But just those few seconds are enough to give you hydrophobia. I was actually scared of the water. I lived in Chennai, which was sad because when I go to the beach, I would stay away from the waves. I would sit on the shore. And so finally, I think I was 9 years old. It was a hot Chennai summer. And my dad said, "Come on, there's some swimming classes. Learn and you can get over your fear." So he took me, and unfortunately, with my luck, it was the wife of a swimming coach. So she wasn't a trained coach, and she wanted to do the ladies' batch. And because I was very tall at the age of 9, they put me in the ladies' batch. And the first day, for somebody who's already scared, they took us and pushed us into the deep end, which is the old-fashioned way of learning, before teaching me how to breathe or float. So I cried and screamed, I scratched her and I coughed and I swallowed water, and I didn't want to continue. And finally my dad said, "Nisha Millet, I paid 100 rupees for you to do these classes." In the 90s, it was a lot to a young kid. So I said, "Fine, I'll finish it." I really hadn't learnt anything. So it was finally my dad who realized that it's just that I've not been taught the right way. So he was a good swimmer himself. He grew up in the beaches of Chennai. So he actually taught me whatever little he knew, made me have fun. He would throw coins in the pool, make me get it. And I started loving the water, just having fun. And then I wanted to learn a little more. So before you know it, I was doing 1 or 2 laps of the pool. And I saw this team training, and I saw a lot of kids my age, and they were chatting and having a good time. And I went up to the coach and I said, "Can I join them?" He said, "Once you can do 10 to 15 laps, you come back and speak to me." So I trained with my dad, and my dad was so impressed that this girl who didn't want to swim earlier now wants to join a swim team. So he was all for it. My sister also has started learning because she's an asthmatic, and swimming is one of the best sports to help with your asthma in terms of strengthening your lungs. So it became like a family affair. After school, my mum, dad, my sister, and me would go in. And before long, I had qualified to join this team. And like they say, the rest is history. I initially loved it for the company and the camaraderie. You're having a chat with your friends, kids your age. But soon I realized that I had this competitive streak. I started beating the girls my age. Then I said, okay, let me try and beat the girls who are older than me. And a great thing about my parents is they never put any restrictions saying swim only with girls your age. They would say, just beat everyone. You're swimming well. Like right now, you're almost the fastest. Those few boys are there. Why don't you beat them too? So in my mind, I never had these fears about older kids or older women or swimming with boys. I just wanted to beat everyone. So it was genuine love for the sport. And then I remember getting chicken pox. I think I was just 10. I was going to my first state meet, and I got chicken pox, and I was so devastated, not because of chicken pox, but because I had to miss swimming. And I remember in those days, my father said, "Don't lose your fitness." So he'd take me to the park nearby. I would do my jogging and my stretching. And when I got back into the pool, the kind of joy I felt. So I think somewhere I knew, wow, I'd love to continue doing this. And that year, which was 1992, was the Barcelona Olympics. And I think one of the best things that could happen was I was watching swimming and I watched this world champion. He was winning a gold for his country, and I said out loud, I just said, I want to go to the Olympics. And one of the greatest gifts my parents could give me was not to laugh at me, because I'm a 9-year-old kid who had hydrophobia, who's just about joined a swim team, and I'm talking about the Olympics. But I said it very seriously, and then they took it seriously. They said, sure, we are ready to support you, but you need to give up on, going out to friends' parties or sleeping late. You need to be ready to get up at 5 a.m. and go for your morning practices. And so that's when that dream really took hold.
Yeah. And you mentioned your sister had asthma, so did she overcome it by swimming?
Yes, definitely. I feel, when we were young, I remember rushing to the hospital with her. She would have asthma attacks and she'd have to be on a nebulizer, be in the ICU for a bit, and then we'd come back. Once she started swimming, initially, there's a little bit of discomfort. But the good thing is Chennai has got great weather as well. And as her lungs started getting stronger, because we do so much of breathing underwater, because you can't take a breath on your own, you have to come up and take a breath. Her lungs got so much stronger, her immunity improved. You won't believe till today, she didn't have any issues with asthma. When she stopped swimming, in fact, now when it's very dusty or say Diwali time, lot of smoke, then she gets an asthma attack and she always says, I need to go back and swim. So actually, a lot of people don't know, but some of the world champions are suffer with asthma or other, respiratory issues. So that's very, very good, and this a good way to get kids who are scared to do other things. They feel they'll get this asthma attack. You would think that being in the water is not good, but nowadays a lot of doctors also are recommending get into the water. It's the most healthy way to strengthen your lungs. Doing that cardio and in the water.
Would you say that it was at the national level that you realized your potential for the Olympics?
Definitely. I think first my only goal was, okay, let me try and do a good timing. So I think my focus was, yes, I love to come first, get a gold medal, but I also had very clear goals in terms of timing. So first I wanted to get the state record. I did that, then I wanted to go and win the national gold and get that record. Did that. And then by the age of, I was not even 13, I was still 12, I had won all the races in the sub-junior category, which was my own age group. And like I mentioned, my parents were just like, okay, why don't you try the seniors? And I didn't have, as a youngster, I didn't have that fear. No one talked to me about, oh, these kids are older, taller, stronger than you. I went into my first senior nationals in Goa. I would have been 12 at that time. No one had heard of me because I was a sub-junior. And I swam the 50, 100, 200, 400 and 800. So all the 5 freestyle races, and I won all gold. So that kind of made the rest of people, take notice. And that's when I also realized, oh, wow, I can actually do this. That's also the time I got to do my first international meet in Hong Kong. I went for the Asian age group. I won a medal there. So I started I was very self-fueled. I was not the kid who'd say, if I win, get me this. Even if my dad said, you broke a national record, what would you like? I'd be like, I want one Mars chocolate bar or something because I was such a big chocoholic. And I really enjoyed pushing myself. And the only time you'd see me cry is if I don't make my timing. So, even if I come first, sometimes you see me crying, and others will be like, you just got the national gold, why are you crying? And I would say that this is because I have certain timings I want to meet. I want to break this national record. So I think I was quite self-motivated. My mom and dad played a very good balancing role. Mom would make sure I still studied. She was very clear that I don't expect you to come first in class, but having education is important. And, so in my free time, we didn't have much free time, training twice a day. But she would make sure I get my work done. Dad would make sure that I never miss practice. He was also like my sports psychologist. He would talk to me about mental strength, about, learning from your defeats. So in those days when we didn't have, professionals to look after us, sports science professionals, I had my mom and dad. Mom would read up a little bit. There wasn't even computers in that point of time. But she would talk to the other parents like, okay, I'll give you more palak with your meals. I'll give you ragi malt in the morning when you make up, So I think both my parents together had such a profound impact. And the fact my sister was also a swimmer. So it became like a family affair. We'd go to the pool. We'd come back at the dining table. We'd be chatting about swimming. In those days, we had the VHS tapes. Anybody came from out of India, they'd bring us a nice technique video. So my dad taught me to watch these videos and then to watch myself when I'm swimming to try and make out mistakes, and also to watch my opponents, like do they breathe on the other side? If they're breathing away from you and you're racing them, you have an advantage because they can't see you. So small things like this, I think, back in the 90s. Yeah, that was quite advanced. So both my parents really went above and beyond, I would say.
So, Nisha, what is the correct breathing technique in swimming?
The main thing to remember is that we need to start trying to achieve the similar kind of relaxed breathing that we have on land.
Okay.
We need to do that in the water.
Yeah.
The first thing that happens when you go in is you tend to shut your eyes
Yeah.
and stop breathing,
Yeah.
hold your breath.
Yeah.
So the first thing when we teach people is to get a good pair of goggles so you can open your eyes because it's wonderful underwater. You can
Yeah.
see so clearly. In fact, even if you don't have goggles and you open your eyes, you can see quite well. And the next thing to remember is to exhale out through your nose underwater. So when you exhale, also the tension also relieves,
Yeah.
it reduces in your body. Your muscles start to relax. The more you relax in the water, the easier you float.
Yeah.
And everything becomes easier. And when you come out of the water, you have very little time. So you grab a quick breath with your mouth. So you inhale through your mouth, put your face in and exhale through your nose.
Okay.
So when you exhale through your nose, it makes sure also that water is not coming into your nose.
Yeah.
I know a lot of beginners, what they hate is, breathing in and getting water. It goes into your sinuses.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
quite a terrible feeling.
Yeah.
So I think for any young kid or even adult, you need to get them comfortable breathing in and out in the
Yeah.
water before
Yeah.
you do anything else.
Yeah.
And if you're a swimmer, competitive swimmer, or even a fitness swimmer, we do something called bilateral breathing, where we breathe on both sides. So it's good because swimming is a very balanced sport. You want your body to keep turning from side to side. So if you're breathing only to your left, you would put little more strain on your right side of your body.
Yeah.
So we teach youngsters to breathe on both sides.
Okay.
One is you can see your competitors on both sides. And the other one is that you're now training both sides equally.
Yeah.
So that would be probably the best kind of breathing.
Yeah. And so, how is training different in Perth and training in India? What is the difference? And what was your learning?
So I think first of all the mentality of Australians, and I think a lot of Indians know about Australians, especially the cricketers.
Yeah.
But if you see even their swimmers or most sports, one is they're a very sporty nation. So even the family I stayed with, they ran a gym, they had a treadmill in the house. Apart from swimming, competitive swimming, we would do boxer-size classes, which is kind of like kickboxing. The mother would run with her dog on the beach. She would play volleyball. So they're always out there and moving. So that's the first step, right? Kids are exposed to sport. Adults are always outdoors doing something, doing an activity. And the big difference, I think, in terms of a professional setup is in India, my coach and my parents were trying to do everything for me. There, I could go and pay extra and, of course, get the help of experts. And we've never heard of biomechanics specialists or sports physiotherapists. You'd go to a doctor here, they'll say, don't swim for a few months. Now, that's not possible for a competitive athlete. So I got all this specialized care and specialized, learnings when I was there. So the first time I got an 8-month scholarship from the International Olympic Committee, IOC, who conducts the Olympics. So they were giving out scholarships to athletes from third world countries who didn't have the funds and had a chance of qualifying. I was about 2 seconds away from the qualifying time, so I was pretty close, but just not able to get there. And the great part is my coach in India, who is our national coach, a Dronacharya Awardee. His name is Pradeep Kumar. Yeah, he was amazing. Where he said, I would love to be the one to take all the credit, and still all the credit goes to him for getting me to where I am. But he said, you need that extra training, the sports science, everything that a foreign country has to offer, and we don't have it in India. So he encouraged me to go abroad, and I went to Perth to another wonderful coach called Bernie Mulroy, who was training the team in the City of Perth swimming team. And it was really sweet because he went out of his way. We had trouble getting to one of the pools. This is just my mother and me, and we didn't have transport. So he would come and pick us up and take us to the pool on some days. I would, carpool with another swimming friend on another day. So I think I learned a lot of resilience, being in a foreign country. I had taken a break from school. I was still doing my homework and my projects and submitting it. And then being away from my dad and my sister. And my dad is the type who never missed any swimming classes. So it was really tough. Every day I had to fill him in. He wanted to know what's happening. But it all paid off because, just 4 months into my stint over there, I was able to make those changes to my stroke, to my diet, to my, even meeting a sports psychologist and talking about what stresses me out, how to put less pressure on myself. Because in India, it was like, we've never had an Indian qualify, swimming is a write-off. And so coming there, it kind of separated me from all that, gave me a lot of focus. And in April of that year, August is the Olympics and I qualified. So it was one of the most amazing moments for me, for sure.
Yeah. But what stresses you out? What stressed you out? What did you talk to them? How did you
I think people who are very well-meaning, including my parents, would keep asking me, like, do you think you'll qualify? Are you doing everything? You need to push yourself more. So already as somebody who's very self-motivated, that was too much for me because I already put a lot of pressure. Probably the most pressure I put is on myself. Other people's pressure was just adding to that. So when I spoke to a sports psychologist, he was very clear. He said, "See, you're not in India, so people can't get a hold of you so easily. If they do manage to get your phone number and call on the landline, just don't pick up. Let your mom say that you're sleeping. Do interviews when you feel you're in a good mental space." He said, "Talk to your parents and even your dad. Even though he's in India, he's missing what you're doing. But if you don't want to talk about it, tell him. Say, you know what? I've got everything under control. We'll talk about the weather, we'll talk about the food from Bangalore I'm missing, about your sister, but don't talk about swimming." So that helped because I was just doing it more for the fun of it, which is how it should be in sports. And that's why even the qualifying meet, the actual Olympic qualifiers was in May or June. And there was the Australian Junior Nationals. So I was going to swim with my age group swimmers. I had no pressure. And I was still thinking, okay, I have 2 more months to qualify. This was also a qualifying meet, but in my mind, I didn't think I was ready. But on that day, I got in, I felt great in the water. I had zero stress. It was just another heat swim. I was trying to qualify for the finals. And I remember every moment of the swim like it was yesterday. They call it being in the zone. You dive in, you feel amazing. I was leading my lane, leading my heat. I eventually won my heat. And I remember looking up at the scoreboard. I first looked at my mum before I looked at the scoreboard, which is always what I would do. And she was just going crazy in the stands. And I was like, why is she getting so excited? The finals are in the evening. I've qualified, but I've not won a medal. And then she kept pointing to the scoreboard. And then when I looked, I saw I'd actually achieved the qualifying time. And it's very rare for me to do a fast swim in the heats. So in the evening, of course, I did a faster time. So qualified twice, in fact, for that. And just the excitement of being able to call my dad, who was just expecting me to say that I've qualified for the final. I'm going to try and get a medal. And I called up and I said, guess what? And I said, will I qualify? He said, okay, for the finals? I said, no, for the Olympics, So he was screaming and shouting. And so 2000 was a great year for me, whether it was going to the Olympics, whether it was the Arjuna Award I got that year, so meeting the President of India. So definitely one of the highlights, I think, of my swimming career.
Butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, what is your preferred style?
So I'm actually like a middle distancer. So 200, 400 in freestyles. And in the backstrokes, I swam the 100 and the 200 backstroke. So I think it's, you should as a kid try everything out. As I've gotten a little stronger in my upper body now that I'm doing a lot of strength training, I find butterfly quite easy. But when I was not that strong, I found, freestyle and backstroke. I have very strong legs. So my kicking was really good. So I think the main thing is, you need to have that motor behind you. The great Olympian Michael Phelps said, to be a good swimmer, you need to be a good kicker. So I always paraphrase him to my kids, and one of my daughters already can beat me. She's really fast. And so I think if you have that strong base, it keeps you high in the water, keeps you moving forward, good balance. So focus on the legs to stabilize you, but also the arms are very important. So at the end of the day, it's also a lot about, cross-body connection. Your right leg in your left hand, your left leg in your right hand. So it's a lot of tying it together with the core. So all those things we only learn of now. When we were swimming, it was just like go in and swim. Try to do good stroke technique. So I love the freestyle and backstroke. I feel breaststroke is the toughest for me. It's the slowest. So I think in some level I get a little annoyed that I'm moving slowly, and I prefer doing the freestyle and the backstroke.
Great. And how do you master flip turns?
So flip turns are really great when you don't want to stop. Every time you touch the wall, you end up taking a break or you slow yourself down. The momentum stops. So with a flip turn, you're able to generate power, not only not stop that race, you keep going at your current speed, but also you get a push off the wall. So say I'm swimming 200 meters. I get 3 flip turns. And it's a bit of a break for your arms. You push off. And the only way to do it is just practice every single day. So once it's very important to breathe out underwater. And like how we do a somersault or a palti on land, we make kids practice that. We make them practice in the water. And then once you do that somersault, you need to push off and go underwater. So it's wonderful because I just recently did a diving and flip turn workshop. It was so much fun to teach young kids, adults to do this because it looks really cool. It saves you a lot of time. And, for us, swimming 8 kilometers a day, doing that many flip turns, it's just practice makes perfect. That's it.
Coming back to your coach, Pradeep, what is the most important thing you learned from him, or even this the coach you mentioned, Bernie?
Yes.
So anything very important that made a difference?
I think my coach Pradeep, what inspires me even today
Mm.
is the fact that he reads people very well and he treats everybody slightly different. Like with me, he knew he didn't have to give me many motivational speeches. He trusted that I was a hard worker. Like sometimes I'd be really tired and I would say, "Sir, I don't feel like swimming today." Now, if other people say that, he would say, "Rubbish, get in and swim." You know, he'd know they'd try to bunk. For me, he knew me well enough to know that, okay, I'm really feeling terrible. I never took days off. So, okay, if Nisha is telling me this, I need to trust her. He'd say, okay, come sit next to me and chat. And my teammates would be like, what? He's not letting you. I said, no, I'll do the same workout. So the next day I would come back and I'd do really well in the workout. So one is that trust factor that he had with me and the way he treated everyone. Like he didn't treat me, even after I came back from the Olympics, didn't treat me like any different because I was an Olympian. Whether you're not making a state level team, he would still talk to you, still correct your strokes. And the wonderful part is, many years later, recently he's moved back to India. For a while, he went to Dubai. He had a wonderful team over there training. A couple more Olympians came out of his training. Now he's moved back to Bangalore, and recently, just a week ago, it was the state short course swimming championships, and my daughters took part. And he was there. And the first thing I did was, you have one of the greatest coaches and greatest motivators that I know. So I sent them off to speak to him. And after the first, second race, one of my daughters won a medal. Now I have twins, and the one she immediately went with a medal to show him, and he had a chat with her, and he congratulated her. He was so excited. And when she came back, then my other daughter, who hadn't won a medal, she went and she was a little upset, and she went with a few other girls who also hadn't won. And she came back, she was smiling, and she said, "You have the best coach." I said, "I know." And I said, "What did he tell you?" Then she told me how he mentioned that right now you're eighth, next you can come to seventh, you come to sixth. And because you're not won the medal yet, you're more willing to learn, more willing to put in effort. So you will do it. I have faith in you, and that push to young kids. And he said it in such a calm way. Next day she got a state medal, along with her teammates. So, the first thing they did was run back to him. So I think in his late 50s or early 60s, to still connect with 10-year-olds, to still inspire kids. So coaching is one thing, you can give anybody a set of workouts, but to push them to give their best. Like with my sister, he realized very early on that she was training for the wrong events, and she would always come fourth, third, and never be winning. And people would say, something is lacking. How come Nisha wins and she doesn't? And the second we moved to train with him, he realized that this girl is wasting her time doing long workouts. She's a sprinter. Changed her events and she started becoming, national champion, went on to the world championships. So the number of lives that he's changed. And the one thing, if I draw comparisons between both the coaches, Bernie and Pradeep, is the humility, not letting it get to your head. Pradeep sir is a Dronacharya Awardee, national coach for many Olympians. He never talks with too much of attitude. He'll sit even with a 5-year-old and have a chat. Everybody wants to talk to him. He takes that time out. So I think that's helped me realize what kind of coach I want to be, because I've seen how he dealt with me and all my teammates.
So you do the same with your students?
Yeah, definitely. In fact, for so many of them, it's up to them. Some of them call me ma'am, some of them call me Nisha auntie, some of them just call me Nisha. Sometimes, 6-year-old come up and say, "Nisha, can I take a picture with you?" And the mom will be like, "No, you must call her ma'am." I said, "No, let her call me Nisha. It's fine." Because if kids have that, approach, if you're approachable and they feel like they can talk to you, they'll do anything. They want to listen to you. They want to work harder. So even now, I always try to have that relationship where a kid can come and tell me if something's bothering them, or they can come and tell me some school story, like, "Ma'am, in school today I did this." So I think that's very important, that coach-student relationship is so much like a teacher-student. Like even in school, we remember our teachers so well, our favorite teachers. So I think most coaches forget that when they start, their swimmers start winning medals. They forget that at the heart of it, you have to have that communication. You have to have that, really good relationship with your athlete. Yeah.
So you gave up a competitive swimming at the peak of your career. Imagine if you didn't have those constraints or financial struggles.
Yeah.
How different would it have been now?
I think also in the 90s, as swimmers and in most sports, there wasn't too much of longevity of an athlete. We always thought of, in a sport like swimming, if you haven't reached the top at 24, 25, it's time to move on. Your body can't take it anymore. You're done with it. So I retired very close to that age. So in my mind, it didn't feel like I was retiring early. And my parents had spent almost 80, 90 lakhs. They sold our family house in Chennai, put that money into my training because we did not have financial support. And swimming is an amateur sport, so we don't get paid when we win nationals or state medals or even international medals. So it was very, very difficult for them. So I think by the time I was close to 22 when I retired, and then I realized I should be contributing. It's not fair for them to struggle this much. And looking at it very logically, I said, can I win a medal in the next Olympics? And we were far away from a medal. So I said, what's the use of trying for another Olympics? I missed out in 2004. I narrowly missed. And then I said, why should I waste their money, their time, their effort for 4 more years? I need to now step up and start supporting them. So from the age of 22 onwards, I took the front seat. I started my academy. I started funding things and letting my parents relax a little bit. So, I feel that things have changed so much now. Today, Sajan Prakash was chatting with me. He came and did a workshop with our swimmers in our academy. He's a double Olympian. He's in his early 30s. He's still going strong. He's looking at an Asian Games Games medal, maybe another Olympics. He's already a double Olympian. And the big change he was saying is one is sports science has improved so much, So you have people who can help you with that tough injury. Like I had a back surgery. It was very difficult for me to get back. Now you have the best sports scientists, best sports doctors. You have sports psychologists who can help you navigate these tough times. And we have so many Olympic and world champions in their late 30s and even in their 40s, especially in the sprint events, where it's about power. So then you realize, wow, I could have actually swum, 10 more years. And things changed a lot, I think, in those years after I stopped. But no regrets. I mean, I had a lovely career, and that swimming career, even though financially it really affected my parents, that also led the way to my current career. And the best part of my life, I feel, is that I'm still waking up every day doing something I'm passionate about. So how many people can say that? And they're able to make a living. A lot of people do it as a hobby, but to be able to do it every day purposefully, still interact with swimmers, coaches, parents, and do it on my own terms, that feels really good.
At one point, you were diagnosed with a benign tumor in your back.
Yeah,
That must have, that must have been quite a blow.
yeah.
So how did you overcome that, and what kind of mental support did you get?
I think that was a very challenging time. I talked about 2000 being my best year,
Yeah.
Olympics, Arjuna Award. And just before the Olympics, I started having this excruciating back pain. And as swimmers, we tend to, as any athletes, learn that pain is good. Typically, it's because you've pushed yourself in practice. But this pain didn't go away. So then you know it's an injury. And I had not fallen, I had not injured myself in any workout. So it just suddenly came on, and we couldn't figure out what was the problem. I went to the best doctors in Australia, and I had the Olympics coming up. So they just found ways to manage my pain, whether it was taping my back, with that kinesio tape, which you see a lot of the cricketers and our athletes wearing. We didn't even have that in India, but at least there they were able to tape it up so my back was stable. I swam with my back fully taped up inside my swimming costume at the Olympics. I was in excruciating pain afterwards. So only a few people like Gopi Chand and Aparna Popat, good friends of mine who were India's top badminton players, they knew about it, but we didn't mention it because I didn't want to miss out on the Olympics. I won my heat. I didn't make it to the finals. So when I came back, I was at the peak of my career. I was only 18, aiming for my next Olympics, which was in 4 years' time, and I couldn't even get out of bed. Sometimes just sleeping in the night was very tough. I'd have to keep walking, then the pain was better. I tried acupuncture, I tried Reiki, I tried painkillers, and nothing was working. After about 7 or 8 doctors, we went to meet a spine specialist, and he was based in Coimbatore. And a lot of people talked about him, and he made me take some high resolution MRI, and he noticed that there was a mass that is growing on my lower back. And immediately he said the word, it could be a tumor. As of now, we'll presume it's a benign tumor, but we still have to test it. But there's no option because it was pressing on a spinal nerve. So I had pain going down my leg, my left foot was numb. And it was sad because I was in such great shape, I wasn't able to train at all. So finally went in for surgery. This was just, a year and a half after the Olympics. It was nerve-wracking. 2002, after 2 years of managing this pain. He removed the tumor, and he was worried he might have to put a steel plate or something to support, but the tumor hadn't really affected any other part of my body. Once they removed it, they immediately sent it for biopsy. They showed it was a benign tumor. So I was not really thinking about cancer, but my parents were thinking about it. I was only thinking, when can I get back in the pool? So it was tough because 10 days I had bed rest and they wanted me to be in the wheelchair and I was refusing. I was like, no, I want to walk. Anyway, I got back to the pool, but it was really tough. So I think I'm most proud of the fact that I went through that, the rehab, got back in, gave it a good shot because typically you train 4 years for the Olympics. And I lost a good 2 years. But I still knew I had what it takes. I got a scholarship to train in Australia. I went back. When I come back here, I trained with my coach Pradeep. Went for the qualifying meet and narrowly missed the qualifying mark for the next Olympics, And it was definitely very tough for me to handle, but really proud that I could overcome that injury.
Yeah.
And till now, till date, touch wood, I've never had that pain before because they said it could grow back.
Yeah.
And if I have any pain, I need to go back and get the test done.
Yeah.
But I think those kind of low times in your career really teach you the most.
Yes, it
Yeah.
does. And also Andrew Lepus helped
Yeah.
you through this
Yes,
part of
yes.
recovery.
I can see you've done your homework well, yes. So
share
like I mentioned,
some
we
memories.
we didn't really have sports doctors or sports physios in those days. So the few doctors I went to were not very helpful. And I wanted to get back in, but have a systematic way of getting back. I couldn't even dive into the pool because I just had a surgery. I had 10 stitches in my back. I happened to go for a cricket event, and I'm not a cricket fan at all. But I had gone for some cricketing awards. They had requested me to come. And while I was there, I was sitting at the same table as Andrew Lepus, and someone said, "This is the sports doctor of the Indian team." And this is before my surgery, actually. And, then my mom went up, she was with me, and she said, sorry to bother you, but Nisha has been having this issue. She's going in for a surgery. And he said, listen, now is not the time for me to be involved. Let her finish her surgery. But in India, he said, don't waste your time going to the Indian doctors. We do not have qualified sports doctors or sports physios. Wherever I'm in India, I'll message and let you guys know. Bring her after her surgery once, a couple of weeks has passed. So he actually was coming to Chennai for some test match. We flew down and I remember walking in. Saurav Ganguly was there finishing his session and he was wondering who's this young kid coming in. And Andrew really helped. Like he gave me exercises that I've never seen, which worked on my core muscles, my back muscles, got that whole area stable again because it was quite a serious surgery. And thanks to him, I was able to get back in the water and I raced almost in 2 months. I was in swimming in a 1 month's time, and in 2 months' time, I was swimming my first competition. So I think, sometimes it's fate. And many years later, a good friend of mine, Srinan Srinivas, is one of India's top sports doctors. He was with the Punjab Kings team for the IPL, and Andrew Lepus was also the sports physio of the team. So after so many years, he put me on a video call, and I got to thank Andrew. I said, Andrew, I don't know how much I thanked you back in, in the early 2000s, but you really helped so much and refused to take any fees. He said, the Indian team pays me well enough. You can't even afford my rate, which we probably couldn't. He just said, if you feel better and are able to compete, that will be my gift. So really wonderful people who have helped my career, who had no reason to.
What is training outside the pool? How does it help to evolve into a better swimmer? Something like pull-ups and crossfits.
Correct.
Outside the pool, right?
Yeah.
In the training, so is fitness important?
Definitely. I think, in terms of cardio, we do a lot. Our lungs are very strong.
Yeah.
We can just go on swimming.
Yeah.
One is the people have stopped overtraining, which is great. I was doing 16 kilometers a day, 2 sessions a day from the time I was about 11 till I stopped at, 22, 23. My daughters now just do 7 sessions. I got a couple of very bad shoulder injuries just from, repeating the movement of the freestyle arm action. So the only injuries we get is overuse. So your shoulder joints, your knee joints are not used to that kind of volume. We did not have the knowledge of proper strength training. So now what we do is we do prehab. So before you get injured, you know the weak areas for most swimmers, shoulders, knees, back, spine. We keep them healthy. We do lots of mobility pre-swimming, post-swimming. We go to separate strength and conditioning sessions because it's really good if you can get that strength on land and also learn how to use it well in the water. For me, it was just strength in the water. I did not have that kind of strength on land. We would just go to a gym, do some nominal kind of, exercises. Nobody would teach you the proper technique. So I think that's why now athletes are able to have a longer career and not get injured as much. And another thing that really helps, I think, is mental training. Like we talk so much about physical training that, 50% of sport is the mental element also. You can be as fit as the person next to you, but if you're not mentally strong, you're going to lose the race. So I think mental strength is where you see all our current Olympians, Olympic champions, is because they work with sports psychologists. So in COVID, when COVID hit, I really wanted to do a little bit of counseling. So I did a counselor's course. I'm a certified counselor, and that really helped me to even interact when we interact with my own team or even my kids. Think about what you're saying to them. Listen to what they're saying, not just actively listening to what they say. Like sometimes they're telling you that there's too much stress at home or they're very burnt out from studies. So that was never there for us. So I feel if I had that, it would have made a huge difference. So I think athletes nowadays have everything, but they need to have more of that, self drive. They need to have better self talk. Like I know when I talk to myself, I'm always pushing myself. So I tell young kids this, that in this age of social media, where sometimes you can hear all the wrong messages about body positivity or other people being better than you. So I keep telling them that what you say to yourself in your mind has the most power. Even your parents, your coach can only help so much. But if you have this negative self-talk, you're not going to get anywhere in life. So I think that's something sports teaches you, because you have to keep overcoming obstacles on a daily basis. Your shoulders hurting, you're tired, you didn't get enough sleep, the workout is tough. So even as a 10, 11, 12-year-old, you mature, I feel, and get mentally stronger through sport.
What about nutrition? What was it like in your time, and
Yeah.
what do you practice now?
So I think back in the day, it was whatever my mom told me I needed to eat, I would eat. I was not a fan of vegetables, but my dad was quite strict. So he would put one scoop of any vegetable on my plate. If I make a fuss, that would become two scoops.
Okay.
Until I finish my vegetables, I'm not allowed to get out of the table. Even if I sat for half an hour, he would sit with me. So I learned very quickly to quietly eat that one spoon of vegetables. But my mom would, try to get me eat lots of green leafy vegetables. We did a lot of chicken and fish, which helped. And for me, the main thing is sometimes also I need to, like pre-competition, eat foods that make me happy or that I'm used to. So a lot of friends who would be non-vegetarian would suddenly become vegetarian before the competition and eat only dal rice. I would still eat beef or mutton. I remember once in Goa, I had a really lovely chili squid. And the next morning, I did an amazing time and I broke a national record. And people asked me, "What was your meal last night?" I said, "Chili squid." They're like, "You ate out on a pre-race day?" I said, "Yeah, my mom had not brought any equipment to cook. So we ate at a restaurant close by. It's Goa. The seafood is nice." So I think people overdo it when you're younger.
Yeah.
I think now at a young age, there's no need to give kids supplements. There's no need to give them the issue is processed foods, which my kids also love, and I have to try and reduce it. So if they want to have chips, like recently they've got fond of these ragi chips. So you're trying to give them something that they like,
Yeah.
but also make it healthy. And because they're growing a little older and they're a little more serious, I'm able to make them understand.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the fact that every day after a swim that they have to have an egg sandwich, they're not very happy about. So I try and make it differently. Sometimes give them a nice pasta. So I think what's changed now is at a very young age, they've started try to educate athletes about right and wrong choices, quantities that they need to eat, protein. Like if I tell my daughters that, "See, you've eaten all your rice and your vegetables, but where is the protein? You've not eaten your chicken." So as a mom, because they're so young, I tend to baby them a bit in that way, where I feel like, okay, they have to eat their chicken. I literally will shed the chicken and mix it into their rice, because I'm like, this is really important, because not only are they growing as teenagers or pre-teens, but they are growing as athletes. They need to put on that muscle. They need to for their performance, for their own well-being and growth. So now at least you have options where healthy food is also made tasty. And I wouldn't say I'm the most healthy eater. In fact, all my friends would laugh if I say that. But I think I eat a very balanced meal. So my kids also, for the most part, eat balanced meals. What I do have a lot of, and my kids also love, is sugar. So, we try to do more fruits. We love our berries. So every day there's blueberries, strawberries at home. So I try to keep that cut up so at least one sugar craving is satisfied. I also don't feel at the age of 10, 11, when my kids don't have any issue with weight, that I should be so worried about, having a bar of chocolate or having a piece of cake. So I don't make it a taboo thing. If they're overdoing it, I'll be like, "Listen, that's too much. You guys are competitive swimmers." But I think as I've gotten older, I've realized, last year I started perimenopause, and I found so many changes in my body. And then I found that one, I had to take care of my sleep, so I've changed a lot of that. And the second part is nutrition, where I felt like I'm not getting enough protein and fiber. So I'm trying to add more vegetables to my diet. Protein, I hated eggs actually when I was young. I think I ate too much of it. So now I know I need to have them. So I'll either have only the white, which I don't mind, or I'll put it into a fried rice I made at home, or I'll mix it into a gravy if I have to, because I know I need to eat it, but I don't enjoy it. So nutrition has changed a lot. So I think it helps because my daughters are almost my height and they're 11. So if you see most athletes, they have amazing physique, amazing build. So that is because of the better nutrition that they're having.
Great. And do they have the beetroot juice happily?
Beetroot juice they have not touched till now. In fact, they hate beetroot. But they had just heard Sajan saying that every single day he has a beetroot juice. So, when Olympians tell you something, not your mom who's an Olympian, but somebody who's not your mom. I talked to them about it. They said, okay, we'll try.
Yeah.
Then I said, okay, if you don't, then I'll just mix this beetroot juice into your gravy and you have it anyway, one way or the other. So they were fine with that. So I think what kids don't know sometimes doesn't hurt them.
Yeah.
So many times, I have these health mixes which have ragi and all these grains, and I just mix it sometimes into their meals and they have no clue. Like every chapati has some vegetable. So carrot chapati and beetroot chapati, aloo parathas.
Spinach.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they have to eat it. It has to go down. It takes little extra effort from our side. And I thank every day that I have a wonderful person helping me cook, because I am not a good cook at all. So she comes in and makes their meals. So I'm happy with that.
Nice. So does a swimmer ever retire?
I think swimmers shouldn't retire. In fact, I think swimming is the one sport, like say you're playing badminton.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point your knees or your ankles, it's tough for you to continue at that level. But the great thing about our sport is we have such low impact on your joints.
Yeah.
So swimming is one of the sports that you can carry on till your 80s, 90s. We have the state masters championships for all age groups. The oldest category is 90 to 99, And I think this year we had an 85 or 86-year-old man who swam. So, I feel like I'm still very much a swimmer. In fact, since I have my swimming academy, friends who meet me after many years keep saying to me, Nisha, nothing has changed. You still smell of chlorine. You still wear swimsuits as your official work clothes. And, you're still tanned as ever. So I enjoy it because I've seen so many friends or contemporaries who went away from sports. And later in the life, they're realizing sports is what's missing from their life. So some of them do part-time coaching. Some of them come and train for a master's meet, or they put their kids into the sport. And so I think being able to be involved in something you love, and for me to see my academy grow from, just me running around doing classes all over Bangalore to now teaching thousands every year. And this year we're moving to Pune. I'm in 2025 to Pune. We have a setup in Nashik. So it's nice because I'm able to spread swimming across India, and to see that our boys are doing very well. Girls, we still have a way to catch up, but we even have somebody like Sajan or Srihari, both are double Olympians. So it gives you a great sense of hope for the future of Indian swimming, for sure.
So Pune, not Chennai?
Not Chennai as yet. So yeah, we've explored a couple of opportunities, and we just pick it very selectively. And we're doing this only after 20 years. We don't want to scale up too fast. People forget swimming is the one where there's very high liability, right? You're dealing with someone's lives. If the sport like badminton, at worst you'll fall, you twist your ankle or you get an injury. But in swimming, somebody could die. So the main thing for us is safety. So in Bangalore as well, we keep our coach to student ratio low. We make sure that first we need to make sure the kids are safe. Then everything else comes, kids or adults. So for me, that's been the barrier to me going, because we've had so many requests to come to different parts of India. In fact, till last year, we trained at the Tendulkar Middlesex Global Academy in Navi Mumbai, at DY Patil, where all the big cricket matches are being held. But at the same time, the atmosphere has to be very conducive for swimming classes. So I think Pune, I'm very excited for. I find it's very similar to Bangalore. The mindset, the people, even the weather to some extent. And we have a small little team in Nashik, so I visit there once a year and meet the swimmers there. So I'm very happy to keep it small and just be a little more selective of our coaching.
You did mention about perimenopause.
Menopause, yeah.
So does swimming help in the mood swings?
Definitely, I think any movement or activity is good, but also it is not about not overdoing it. So I think that's a big change because
Okay.
I am somebody who's now competed for so many years, 20 plus years of not only after swimming, I got into running, I got into CrossFit, I still compete, I do open water races. So I tend to push my body a lot because my body can handle it. I train enough.
Yeah.
But more and more in my 40s, I've realized rest and recovery is important. So one is taking a full day off where I do absolutely nothing, maybe just some, light walking or something with my family and giving myself that time off and sleep. Sleep for me has been a big game changer. So I wear my smartwatch normally only to track my sleep. My heart rate as well, when I'm resting, I can make out. If I'm more rested, it'll be in the low 40s. If I'm very tired, if I'm sick, it goes up to 48, 49, 50. So immediately I know that I'm not getting enough rest. But I feel that the one good thing in perimenopause I've done is one is to take supplements. I was against supplements for the longest time, but I realize now that we are lacking, whether it's vitamin D deficiency or having like an omega 3, like a fish oil, whether it's collagen when you're older and you're training a lot. So I think having those supplements is good, but as an addition to having a more well-rounded meal.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to eat slightly more like high protein, high fiber foods. So that takes time because I'm out of the house a lot. So sometimes I'm going to have to pack. I already packed for my kids. I have to pack a meal for myself. So that's still something I currently struggle with. But I think the fact that swimming or any exercise to me, one is it reduces anxiety. It helps with a good sleep. It helps you to regulate your heart rate. So the main issue I'm having in perimenopause is temperature regulation. Like in the night, I have these night sweats. Like in winter in this kind of weather in Bangalore, I'll be sweating. So I sleep in a separate room where I can put on the fan, and I realize that I have to just look after myself, get that extra sleep. So the other day I got almost 9 hours of sleep, which was really great for me. I felt so recharged. So I think, women are scared to talk about perimenopause, but it's something that every single woman will go
Yes,
through. It's
absolutely.
not even like pregnancy where you can choose on whether or not to get pregnant. Every woman will go through, and I think you have to explain to your family around you that things will be slightly different. Like sometimes my energy levels are very low. I just tell my husband that today I really don't feel like taking the kids to the pool. I have really low energy. I just want to relax. So he's, nice enough that he will fill in for me, has my back. Sometimes the kids, I'll know I'm a little cranky. They'll be like, Mom's a little cranky, so we'll stay away from her. We'll give her that space. So we have to be a little kinder to ourselves. So as an athlete, that's tough because we are very hard on ourselves. We always push ourselves. So the biggest change in the last 1 year is how do I relax? That relaxing and just watching some TV show or reading a book is not a bad thing. I used to think of it being unproductive. I'm not being productive. I'm not helping my family or my career or my fitness. So now I'm able to take that time off.
So you run the Nisha Millet Swimming Academy with your husband Bikranjit
Yeah.
Chatterjee.
Yeah.
What are the dynamics involved in working with your spouse on this business venture?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think most of the fights that we have in the house, like 95%, will be like I keep telling him, like, I'm shouting at my work partner. I'm not shouting at my husband. So actually, funnily enough, my husband and me don't actually argue that much. We get along well, whether it's raising the kids or other issues. But work is something, I feel though, even though it is a little stressful and we do argue about some things, we somehow come to an in-between, like a compromise, which actually helps our business. My husband's the type who takes a lot of risks with work. He wants us to go to more pools. He wants to, and I am the one who's very conservative. So I think when we meet in the middle and we argue back and forth and we come to a middle ground, that's actually great because, we've never had a financial loss. Even when it was COVID, we paid our staff almost the entire, even if though it was a nominal amount, till almost the end of COVID. And at the same time, we till now have never taken any kind of funding because we wanted to be in charge of where we take our business. We wanted to focus on certain areas. Like, I don't want some investor coming in and telling me, let's do only aqua zumba because that brings in money. We know very clearly what our academy is about. It's about grassroots level. Now we've expanded to infant swimming. We've expanded to competitive. So we are growing these things, but at our own pace. And there's nobody at the end of the day to tell you, don't do this, do this. So we do have some mentors, whether it's my coach, Pradeep. There's another amazing Australian coach who was who taught me in the OSWIM course, which is a teacher training.
Yeah.
So sometimes I speak to her as well. So I have mentors. At the same time, we are our own bosses. So that's the best part. And I think we are a good team. People who worked with us, we've run a successful business now for 22 years. And the best part is we did it our own way. We didn't have to copy what someone is doing. And a lot of people, in fact, come to us, people, youngsters who are just starting their coaching careers, and they come and say, can we just look at your certificates? Can we do something similar? And we don't mind giving that to them. So I think we're in a good place, except that it is stressful because we work from home as well. So we have a designated room that's our office. And so my husband was just saying, I think now that COVID and all that drama is over, we should look at getting our office outside home, because sometimes the kids will roll their eyes and be like, Mom, this is also our home. So that's probably the only stressful part. But very happy because I don't have to question, his loyalty or his passion. And for him, actually, being not from the swimming field, I'm most impressed because it's a lot of swimming to deal with. First, you're running a business. Your wife's a swimmer. Your kids are competitive swimmers. So hats off to him for sticking it through for so many years and really having my back. So he does the behind the scenes, the operations, which I'm really bad at. I mean, he's taught me over the years, but he is the one who, every single time our GST is paid, we have an accountant, everything is organized where I can just focus on what I'm good at, which is training the coaches or interacting with the swimmers. It's been a great 22 years.
Awesome. So about the Kensington pool, there was it had to stop abruptly some time back. What happened exactly?
I mean, this is no surprise to anybody who's been in sports in India. There's a lot of politics, a lot of money that changes hands.
Did you wish that you had support from the
We
government?
did have support in some quarters, but that's not enough. I think the sad part is, even as an Olympian who's trying to run an academy, we took over this 50-meter public pool, which is a great opportunity, something that I was a little nervous about doing. I spoke to Coach Pradeep. He was in Dubai. He said, you can do this. You guys are passionate about swimming. You guys are very organized with your business. So we had a huge team. We were doing so well. We had a 3-year lease, right? So this is a proper contract was signed. So it was August and our lease was running out in April of the next year. And suddenly we heard that some money has changed hands under the table and that they were going to call the tender early. And there's no reason, because we were paying our fees on time. Our swimmers were winning state medals, going for the nationals. So when we went to speak to the department, they just said, it has nothing to do with your performance. The tender is going to be called, meaning, the decision's already taken. So we actually took the government to court. We lost the case, obviously, because they said the government can take back the pool whenever they want without any explanation. They have to obviously pay us back for the fees that we had paid to lease out the pool till the next year. So they paid that back with interest. But I think what we learned is it is very, very difficult to work with the government. So finally, we have all our partners right now who are, I think any kind of public pool that you take over, a lot of interference from people around. I think people coming in demanding free slots, wanting their family members to get employment in our pool. So we had a really tough time. I think it opened my eyes to a lot of the issues that you have running a business in India. And right now we're in private pools where we don't have to deal with that. But it's very sad because we'd built up such a great team and the community, right? The surrounding areas, people are coming all the way from Whitefield just to swim in there. And we took such pride in the pool. And if you see the pool now, it's been almost 5 years since we ran it. It's in shambles. Like there's about 40-50 lakhs worth of repairs. It might go into tender for a new person, but nobody wants to even touch it because it's been just really destroyed, So it's really sad that when you take public property, that you don't look after it in such a beautiful pool overlooking the Alsud Lake. And one of the really sad days of my coaching career where, we had to tell our 80, 90 competitive swimmers, our lap swimmers, the kids who are learning, our coaches, that from tomorrow we can't be here. We literally got 6 hours notice to vacate the pool. And we had, a couple of lakhs worth of equipment, our generators, our stopwatches, our cameras. We had to get everything down. So I think it left a very bad taste in the mouth where you really wonder, after giving so much to the country and not earning money out of it because we didn't get a rupee. I think 3 lakhs is what I got when I won the Arjuna Award. That was all I got from the government. Maybe one scholarship for 1 or 2 lakhs to train abroad. And whereas we've put in more than 1 crore probably between my sister and my career. So then you wonder, like, what more can I do for the government to then support you? Having said that, things are slowly changing now, but a lot of it comes through individuals who are making that difference, maybe corporates who are getting involved, CSR funds. So hopefully in the future that we'll get a chance to run another 50-meter pool. But we've learned our lesson to kind of, one is bounce back. I think as athletes, I took it very hard when we lost the pool, but I also bounced back and we realized our clients are coming for us and not the pool. So we went to Dumlur, we went to Malleshwaram and wherever our other centers, and our clients followed us there. Almost no one stayed back at the Alsur pool. So that was such a heartwarming thing. So my point was that pools can come and go, coaches can come and go, but you have to realize what you've built, invest your time and effort in there, and there will be, it doesn't always, the benefits are not always financial.
Yeah.
While we are doing well financially, it's also about kids coming and they're now married and they're telling me, ma'am, you taught me to swim and I still go and I do diving. I think of you. So many of us swimmers who become coaches now who, have that love for swimming. So I think that is what the real contribution we have to the city is more about getting
Making
people
a
to
difference.
overcome their fear. And not many people know that drowning is actually the second highest cause of accidental deaths in India after road accidents. So to reduce that, to give that water confidence to youngsters, to toddlers, to senior citizens, this year we taught 3 85-year-olds at our different pools. So to have an 85-year-old come and say, I want to learn swimming, that is so exciting for me. At the same time, you have the other end of the spectrum where we have toddlers, with their parents, and we introduce them to water in a fun way.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy that things have turned out this way.
So, what do you do differently as a coach, and how is your coaching different from the others?
So I think I always want the kids to have fun during session. It's not that the workout will be tough, but if they want to laugh about something mid-session, have a quick joke, or if they want to do a bit of social kicking in the warm-up. Social kicking is where you hold a kickboard and you're chatting with your friend as you're warming up. I think that's a great way because swimming is a team sport. People don't realize this. They see us winning or competing alone. But if you don't have your teammates, there's absolutely no way you can train. I get so many requests for personal training for competitive athletes. And I tell them, no, you can't. We do such tough workouts. You need to have that teammate there who's suffering through those sets with you, who'll push you to go faster. So I tell them that, competitive swimming is a team sport and we need to foster that team culture. So at a competition, have all the kids playing Uno while they're waiting for their races, not saying that don't sit with that kid, he's your competitor, you shouldn't be talking to them. So I think at the end of the day, sports is something to be enjoyed. If you don't enjoy it, you can't be in the sport. So I tell even the parents, don't push your kid, to talk about results so much where they stop enjoying the sport. Even at the age of 42, when I get in and some kids are doing handstands, I want to join them, or we'll try out some new drill. So it's that fun element has to be there. So I tend to give them a little more fun in my workouts, but they'll still do some tough workouts. But you're free to come and chat with me even after the class. You want to come and tell me your stories about school, or I always carry a packet of stickers in my bag. So all the little ones will come and they'll put out their hand and I give them a star or a unicorn. And just that small thing, makes their day, probably more than the workout.
And I like the motto that you have in your academy.
Yes, it's don't worry, swim happy. So it's got a big smiley face. And some of my coaches also, we've told them, like, I'll say, what was wrong with your session today? He's like, no, I did everything right. I did the workout properly. The kids learned. I'm like, did you smile? Did you have fun? Then when they think about it, they're like, no, actually, I didn't. I was very focused. I was like, no, you have to, if, for the kids to have fun, the coach also has to laugh once in a while or crack a joke or some, kids are really funny. They'll do something hilarious in the middle of the workout. So that those light moments really kind of break up a tough session. So if you have fun, I feel any sport is really enjoyable at any age.
And you did talk about Sajjan doing this 9-hour workshop.
Yes.
What was different there, and what was?
I think I was already a big Sajjan fan, but after seeing how he interacted with the kids, the kind of holistic kind of training that he does himself, I'm so impressed with him because he's one of the swimmers who's very, very articulate. He's able to explain in a very simple way to kids because you cannot use big fancy words with kids. And he was made them really think about what is the purpose, why you're coming to the pool. Then he explained to them that chatting all the time is not going to help their swimming, And he would say, if you're a good friend, when your friend is chatting away and you're supposed to be doing something else, if you're a good friend, tell your friend to shut up and tell them to focus on the task at hand. So the way he said it, he didn't say it, he didn't
Relatable,
shout, he never
actually.
raised his
Yeah.
voice. And, he did such a holistic program. He talked about nutrition, he talked about mental strength. He had one session only with the parents of the swimmers, how to be a support for your child back at home. He had one for only the swimmers where even I was kicked out because I'm a swim mom. So they said, Nisha ma'am also has to be out of this room. So we don't know what he spoke to them, but it is all about, they came out of it very motivated. So that's what Olympians have to do, right? I mean, I remember looking up to a Leander Pace, and when I finally met my idol, at the 2000 Olympics, and he was our captain, like I was speechless. And Leander knew everything about me. He knew which event I had qualified for. He chatted with me. He said, "Come and sit next to me once at lunch." And that just made my whole day. So I think for them to watch Sajan in Tokyo or Rio and then see him in the pool, race with him. Just today he sent over some cute little keychains for them, which says "Stroke to Success," which is the name of his workshop. So that's what I mean about swimmers giving back. And even if these swimmers, and some of them might go on to do very well, some might quit swimming in a few years, they will definitely remember the time that they hung out with a double Olympian, that he was a friend. So my daughter and a couple of their friends who all swim together practiced like this dance performance, and he was so excited. Normally, they'll be a little bored and like, okay. He was so excited. Later, he said, "Please send me a video of their performance. They did so well. They're such talented kids." So now my daughters think that they're best friends with Sajan. They're like, "Oh, Sajan's our bestie." So I think that's that approachability of Olympic, swimmers.
And how is it teaching toddlers?
Oh, I love it. It's just that, it's not for everyone. Some of my coaches will be like, "Ma'am, I just can't do it." Because it's not the typical way we teach, right? We don't just say blow bubbles, kick your legs. You have to make it fun. So you have to sing nursery rhymes. Now, I sing nursery rhymes so well now that my sister just had a baby and she's like, "How do you know so many nursery rhymes? I know you have kids," but I learned them so that we could use these nursery rhymes and convert it into a skill. So we say we are teaching the wheels on the bus, and then we'll say the motor on the bus goes, and then we make them blow bubbles like boo, So it's really fun, but you have to get out of your coaching mentality. So I like the fact that whatever is asked of me, I can fill in that role. Like say for some reason in summer, we don't have enough toddler coaches, I can go and be part of that team. If I find that, okay, we have a lot of competitive swimmers coming in, I need to go and put my time and effort there, I can do that. So I tell my coaches as well that sure, you can specialize in one age group or one level. But if you're a good coach, you should be able to take any level. Because at the end of the day, the techniques we teach, the fundamentals, they're all the same. So whether it's a small, toddler who's 1 year, you're still teaching them how to float on their back. And you're still teaching the same floating and to even adults or to competitive swimmers. So I love it. I think it's so much of fun.
And what is the exact, how early can the kids learn swimming actually?
So actually from the time they're 5 or 6 months itself, you can get them in. In Bangalore, I would say because of the weather, I wouldn't get them in December. Even if it's an indoor pool, if you have, they tend to get a bit cold sometimes. So put them in anytime from Feb onwards till about, August, September. If it's a fully indoor pool, it should be fine as long as the water is a good temperature. But the main thing I think is not pushing kids, like trying these submersions, forced submersions, till they've learned those skills. You see these videos on YouTube. This 6-month-old is going under and picking up something, the child, they're being pushed in and they'll turn on their back. Now that takes years and years of practice. They probably had personalized lessons at home. They have a backyard pool where they train every day. It doesn't just happen like that. So 6 months is a good time and the parent should hold them. That makes such a big difference. At 1 year, 2 years, they're not going to go to a coach. They want that familiarity of a grandparent or a parent. So our classes are always parent-toddler. And almost always they are group classes. So they interact with other kids. Some kid takes the ball, then they throw it back to them, then they throw it back to them. So it's that, again, that, we'll try to teach through play.
Is that physical build of a swimmer different with broad shoulders, muscular arms? Does that take away femininity?
No, I don't think so. I think now the concept of what is feminine has changed. And I think what I keep telling people, and I always say this, whether it's on social media, whether it's to people I talk to kids, is that prioritize strong over skinny, right? I've seen people who are size 0 but are really weak, very, very unhealthy also. So, and then I've seen people who are maybe 10, 15 kgs overweight but are very, very fit, very strong, very active. So it's about moving your body regularly, mental and physical health being very closely tied. I feel like if you go out there and do anything, it doesn't have to be a competitive sport. It could be going for a walk, it could be climbing up the stairs instead of taking the lift. I think women need to preserve muscle mass, especially when they go into their 40s, 50s, 60s, because you want to be independent. You don't want to have, you've seen how easily you can get like a hip fracture when you're older, or trip and fall. So I'm really happy that my body is now, I may not look very skinny or something. I went through a phase where I wanted to be very skinny. And I realized that I was just starving myself. One is I love food. And for me, food is also tied into my friendship and my good times with my friends. But I was really starving myself, and I was just to look a certain way. But frankly, when people see me, the first thing they think of is strong, because I have broad shoulders. And I've had many people troll me. I've had comments like, oh, did she go for wrestling and not swimming in the Olympics? She's so big. And after my kids, I'd put on a lot of weight. I'd gone up to about 90 kgs. But at that point, I was very unhealthy. So at that point, I think I was at my lowest in terms of physical fitness, mental health, because you're worried only about your kids. I managed to, raise my kids successfully, which is a big deal. But I had really forgotten to look after myself. And sometimes it's a little bit of tough love also. So I remember Milind Soman, who everybody loves, had called me for one of his runs, the Pinkathon runs. And when he saw me, he said, what happened to you? But he just said it in a very normal way. I just said, no, I've had kids. He said, okay, how old are they? I said, they're almost 2. He said, okay, it's about time, Nisha. Get back to your shape. Like you're not looking healthy. You're not able to jog even a few meters. And I think that tough love really helped. And, when he met me the next time, I'd lost 10 kgs. I was running a half marathon. He said, hey, this is what I'd like to see. So I'm not just talking about the weight. It's about, what you're doing today makes such a big difference to your body when you're 60, 70. Okay. So think about it that way. I want to be able to squat. When I go to school, I carry both my daughter's school bags because they're so heavy on the way back to the car. So being able to carry my own bags when I go on holiday. Yeah. So functional fitness, I think women need to strive for. And nothing wrong with having toned shoulders or a body, because you know that your body is capable of a lot. And not to look at being bulky or being big with for it not to be attractive or not feminine. I think if you look at a Mary Kom or a Vinesh Fogart or, they have such amazing physiques. And I always am inspired. I tell my kids, like, this is the kind of physique you should look at, and it's come from you can't get that body by chance. You have to work on it every day. So it gives you the sense of confidence when you are stronger. So I don't think it cuts down from the femininity. At the same time, I feel shouldn't be using performance enhancing supplements, shouldn't be taking steroids just to get that body. Neither should you be starving yourself or like cutting out salt for so many days. So I think moderation is good, where you can continue it. I think in your 40s, 50s, 60s, you want to have a good quality of life, but also enjoy your life, right? These are like, you don't know, nobody's tomorrow is promised. So when we're here, we really need to enjoy ourselves.
So I got married about 17, 18 years back, and I've been a swimmer too.
Yes.
And when I went to get my blouse trial done, so this female tailor, she saw my back and she said, were you a swimmer? So I don't even know her, and she kind of. So, do we have a different back?
Definitely, our shoulders are very broad. I mean, I see that even with my kids; they're really broad shoulders. So, yes, it is very tough with sari blouses. Sometimes the Indian physique, the typical thing, doesn't really fit. So, you have to start wearing sleeveless, or you get something that is more stretchy. But, I take it as a sign of strength. There's this wonderful athlete who I think all girls should follow. Her name is Ilona Maher, and she's a rugby player for America. She is huge. She's 3 times the size of me. Okay. And she looks as good in like a dress as she looks on a field. Like when she pushes somebody, like those girls go flying. She won a gold at the Olympics, obviously. So she's an Olympic gold medalist. But she talks about the mean things that people have said to her and body shamed her, and she shows videos. She said, I have cellulite, but I'm an Olympic medalist. I'm stronger than most of the men out there. I'm fit. I can, deadlift this much. I can run this much. So she tells girls, such a powerful message that it really is about what your body can do and not how it looks. So if your body, even if you're lean, you have lean muscle mass, great. If you're, somebody a little more bulky and you have more muscle mass, but muscle is one of the main They say muscle is the one organ which is like reversible. I mean, you can actually, when there's decay in muscle, you can actually work on it and help it to grow. So that's something where
Even
it
if
really
you're
helps
old.
to slow down aging. It helps to slow down. It cuts down cardiovascular illnesses, whether it's heart attacks or dementia or Alzheimer's, mental health issues. So I think doing a little bit of strength training, but with a professional.
Yeah.
Don't do something just because you think it's cool. Like in COVID, we had no choice.
Yeah.
But now that gyms are open, go to a gym, invest a little money. It could be a group class, it could be individual classes, but get somebody who will make sure you don't hurt yourself
Yeah.
while doing it.
Yeah.
And if that is done, I've seen, nobody should have to suffer the way our parents or our grandparents, with major issues with arthritis. Some of them with low calcium levels, you'll see them hunched over, in their 80s and 90s. So we want to give ourselves a really good future.
So we're just going to talk a little bit about your family and
Sure.
parenting. As a mother, what was it like bringing up twins? What was the exciting part of it? I mean, when you were breastfeeding, were you feeding the same
Yeah.
twin twice? Or was it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably one of my biggest achievements, way beyond what I did. I think, like I keep saying, raising twins is much harder than even going to the Olympics. And my husband and me, decided that since we run our own business and we can choose our work times, we decided not to have any kind of help at home. So my mom helped out a bit. We would have someone just come for an hour and cook food, healthy food for us. But the first 6 months, I can't remember much. It was really tiring. But I think being a sports person helped, right? You're used to pushing your body, you're used to having a schedule. We had to be very disciplined. Like you said, I wasn't able to breastfeed much because I was not getting enough sleep. I was sleeping maybe 1 or 2 hours in an entire day. And what happened was when I was giving them formula, you tend to feed the same baby twice.
Yeah.
At that time they look so similar. So we actually had a log, like a diary, and on the bottles with a marker, we had written their names so that we know, okay, this bottle goes to Adele, this goes to Ariana. But having said that, it's wonderful because from the time they're born, they have a best friend.
Yeah.
I mean, they fight, no doubt. I don't think there's any twins who
Yeah.
don't fight.
Yeah.
But there's so much of love and affection. And trust me, if we shout at both of them, they immediately gang up and they're like, they mean, let's not, they'll kind of console each other.
Yeah.
So I think for them also, like nowadays they're older, if I have to leave to work, I leave them sometimes for 1 or 2 hours at home alone. And they're fine. They'll call up and like, yeah, we finished this. She helped me with this. And I found the biggest, benefit when it was COVID time. Because other
Yeah.
kids, who didn't have that,
That
they
was
miss
so
the company of children. Whereas if you have a twin, you have somebody the exact same age. And even siblings is fun. Like I had a sibling, my sister and me are close. But twins is a whole another thing. Mine are not identical twins, so they're not too stuck to each other. Like in class, they sit with different people, they have different friends. But at the same time, when they're back home, they're playing, they'll crack some stupid jokes that only the two of them understand. But they're highly entertaining. Like I remember my sister telling me, like, Nisha, you don't realize what a gift it was having kids during the COVID time because you don't even realize, you don't have time to get stressed about, oh my God, it's COVID, people are dying, what will happen to my business.
Yeah.
I mean, those thoughts did come through, but you're still looking at, I need to feed these kids, need to keep them safe, need to entertain them. One day I walked in, there was a tent set up in my living room, and they're like, we're all sleeping in the tent, So they're really good fun, and I think they teach you a lot because one is, even now they'll tell me like, Mom, we're sisters, but we're twins, but we're not the same person. Because I'll be like, both of you do this. They're like, no, I don't want to do that. She'll say, but I want to do that. So the challenge for me as a mom and for my husband as well is to find alone time with each. So now we've tried that where my husband will take one of them and I'll take the other, that we'll exchange sometimes because otherwise they don't get that undivided attention for you.
Yeah.
They're the same age, the same height, almost the same weight. And they're totally different. Like if one likes blue, the other likes pink. If one likes sushi, the other likes Indian food. So it's always, I'd say, never a boring day. And I was just lucky that they both love swimming equally because we were prepared to, if they both really went into some other sport or different sports, my husband was fine at one of us take one and the other one takes the other one. But we're lucky enough that they both love swimming. So I think the best thing you could do is, finish off your kids in one shot. Like I always say, while the first 2 months was tough, it was so much easier because both are the same age. I don't have to worry about age difference. It's just that comparison I can't. Sometimes I myself compare without realizing. And then they will just say that to me, like, you're comparing us. don't.
So even shop together for both. It's easy, right?
Yeah, so I mean, now they don't allow me to shop for them. They're like, you just take us and you can just help us choose. But they're very like, one is she likes the sparkly, glittery, more girly, pink, reds. And the other one she likes K-pop, a little more boyish, a little more sporty. So it's very easy when somebody brings them two gifts, they'll always choose something totally different. So it's wonderful. I think they have a great dynamic. It's just that when they compete against each other, it's very tough for me because someone is going to win and someone's going to lose. And my sister and me, it was like in her mind. And my parents would sometimes say, Nisha is the older one, she beat you. But here, there's just 2 minutes separating them in terms of age. So it's difficult because I can't pay too much attention to the one who's won, and I can't totally baby the one who's lost. I have to find that in between. So I think competitions are the most stressful for me, but they're learning to kind of talk it out with me, and
how do you handle it? I mean,
I'd say I was very stressed myself in the first two, because also for me, I was somebody who was mentally very strong. My father would say some stuff, but in my mind, I've already processed it. Whereas one of my daughters, she took a little longer to start winning medals, or she would always come third when her sister would come first. And she would come and she would literally like almost hit me and get a little angry and shout at me. And I'd be like, why are you shouting at me? And then I realized, because I've done that counseling course, that she's actually she's so frustrated about the circumstances. She's a little disappointed in herself that she couldn't do it. And the safest person to let out that anger and frustration is me, So in the beginning, I was like, why is she blaming me? But she's really not blaming me. And later she'll be fine. But she had to just vent it in a very safe space. So I let her do that. Then I talked to her and say, listen, this is all fine. You're just learning to compete. You'll get used to it. Failing is tough, but this is just a competition. Because you failed, it doesn't mean I love you any less or I love your sister more. Or, so the main thing is like, say I buy one of them a swimsuit. Then, the other one also have to buy a swimsuit. So I try to make sure there's absolutely no difference. And I spend equal time with both of them. So that's tough. So I always feel like I'm really amazed by people who have twins and another sibling, because I can't do that. I feel like my focus is 100% split between the two equally as much as I can. And one more person would like tip the scales.
How is it growing up with Reshma?
Good fun. I mean, she's the naughty younger sister. Yeah, we always fought.
Yeah.
Not too much. I would say we've gotten much closer, definitely, as we've grown older. Yeah. And she just recently had a baby. So it's been wonderful to see her grow as a mom. I still think of her as my baby sister. So if she calls me, I'll go running. Sometimes my husband will say, she's a grown woman. I'm like, yeah, but she's my baby sister, But we had a nice relationship, and I think she was the most supportive. Like I see my daughters, I never once remember my sister crying because I won and she didn't, She was always very happy for me, which really shows what a, strong personality she has. And she always said that I'll take my time, at some point I'll win, But she was always supportive. And at a point, like say I'm going for the Olympics, my parents had to obviously, like my mom was living with me in Australia, so she didn't see my sister for 8 months. So she took that really well. But I also had to credit my dad, who also balanced it out, So that's why sometimes I tell my husband that if I'm with one of them in a competition, the other one is not qualified, you have to fill in that. So he does a really good job. So I think as a sports parent, it demands a lot. Like I feel being a sports person is much easier than being a sports mom. Because along with work, you have to find time for them. You have to take a little extra effort. Like in the night, they'll say, Mom, I want you to give me a massage, So when I tell my sister this, and I ask Reshma, like, will you put your son into sports? She's like, definitely. So I think we have a great relationship, and good that we both stayed in Bangalore, because I see that my parents have so much of joy spending time with their grandkids, or even with us rehashing those swimming years, So they went above and beyond, I feel, as parents. So that's really helped us in our careers for sure.
Nice. What did you talk about with other Olympians?
We are just like
Leander Pace.
Yeah.
But did you even chat with Muhammad Ali?
I got to see Muhammad Ali, but this was at the Olympics, and obviously we met some amazing athletes, and I was so excited to meet Leander. And then one day we were in the Olympic dining area, which is huge. About 10 to 20,000 athletes can eat there at the same time. It's massive. And we saw a lot of commotion, people running to one end. So we knew that, okay, some big name has come to the, the dining area. And then we heard people saying Muhammad Ali. So I ran, like I sprinted. We went there, but because there were so many people, and he, he's not very well. He's got Parkinson's, and it is very tough for him to interact with too many people. They kept a little bit of a barricade. But to see him in flesh, to see somebody who had that physical issue, but he's come there to encourage us.
Yeah.
So he was amazing. He just said a few words of, wishes to us. But I think we all definitely, as Olympians, we have that common bond. I know this year for the Paris Olympics, I did the commentary. So we had about 8, 9 other Olympians, 10 Olympians along with me. And we had such a lovely time because we were just watching sports, talking about sports, analyzing sports, and that's all we did for 16 days. We didn't even realize that 16 days passed. When I went, I was like, how will I manage without my kids? My kids were a little upset that, you're out for a long time. But they would call and chat with me and they could see I was so excited. I put them on a video call with Sakshi Malik and Vijayendra Singh. And I said, these are Olympic medalists. They were like, oh my God. And, so it was so amazing. And one of my best friends, Aparna Popat, she's one of India's best badminton players, double Olympian in badminton. She was there as well. And all we do is talk about sports, our kids in sports, what is the future of this sport. And I got to learn a lot about the other sports, which I loved. Like I remember talking to Sakshi Malik about wrestling. And she was telling me the intricacies. What is this point? What is the throwdown? What is, leg attacks and things like that. And then the next day I had to do some commentary on wrestling. At least I feel like I knew a little bit, and to face those highs and lows, winning an Olympic medal or missing a medal. Like the other day, we met Lakshya Sen, and I went up to him and I said, like, I know a lot of people said, you missed and how could you succumb to the pressure. But I said, unless you are an Olympic athlete facing that pressure on that day. And this boy is a young boy. He did some amazing high pressure matches before that. On that day, he was just not the better of the two. But it doesn't mean that he won't go out there, and win that medal. So I think we need to support our Olympic athletes and realize that even if they come last at the Olympics, it's just that elite, 1% of athletes who go to the Olympics. So even last at the Olympics is a huge achievement. So not to tear down our athletes. I remember Deepika Kumari, the archer. She's a mom. She's come back after having kids. She didn't perform well. She didn't get a medal. But that's not the point. To just make that comeback, to be able to qualify for the Olympics. It's not a free ride that you can pay and go over. It's something that has to be earned. So we just have the most fun time talking. We become like kids again. We're so excited about our sports.
And do you think Michael Phelps was created to break all the records, like his torso? And,
I just feel he has a great, what do you say, a mix of different things which, made him the greatest swimmer ever. One is, of course, just his mental strength. You can't be the greatest Olympian of all time, 23 gold medals, and not have some amazing mental strength. I know he talks about goal setting. He's somebody who can visualize so well. He wrote down the timings and the events that he wanted to qualify for the, where he wanted to win his 8 gold medals, and he achieved almost every one of them to the point, to the millisecond. So one is knowing your sport, being a student for many, many years, learning, continuously trying to improve. But also his physicality, right? You've seen he has a huge wingspan. Yeah. His lung capacity is about 1.5 times that of a normal athlete. He does have ADHD, which he talked about, where he was very hyperactive. And swimming helped him channelize that, So for a lot of kids who go through these issues, they actually do very well in sports. So he's gone about saying how much swimming has helped him. And he's somebody who I think talks very openly about his struggles, whether it's ADHD, whether it was, battling depression, where he actually had to put himself into a facility, into a rehab, and he still works with a counselor regularly. So I think somebody like a Michael Phelps can teach you that, dreaming and aiming for the impossible, and you can make it possible. But definitely he's one of those once in a generation kind of athletes, You don't see too many, whether it's a Muhammad Ali, whether in India, to me, the only rival I would say is Leander Paes. Yes, I'm a huge Abhinav Bindra fan and a Manu Bhaker fan. But at the end of the day, to see somebody like Leander, 7 Olympic medal, so you have these athletes that can just inspire a generation. So the number of kids who got inspired and people who tried to race Michael Phelps and 1 or 2 who actually beat him. That was such a big achievement. So, this year, actually, 2025, the World Championships is going to be held in Singapore. And Michael Phelps is doing a lot of commentary for the American sports channel. So I've promised my daughters that I will take them for the World Championships. One is to watch our current Olympians, but on the off chance that Michael Phelps is there and we get to meet him, that will be amazing.
So how has swimwear technology evolved over the years? I mean, do you have any brand that you endorse and why?
I worked with a couple of brands. Obviously, Speedo is well known. I've had a long association with them from the time they came into India. And as kids, we looked up to Speedo costumes. We were so excited, but we couldn't get them here. So any aunt or uncle is coming from London or America, we'd say, please, don't buy us chocolates, just buy us swimsuits. And then at the 2000 Olympics, they gave every single athlete who qualified from all the different countries a free Speedo suit. And it's something that I couldn't afford myself. It was almost about 20,000, 25,000 in those days. So to be able to wear that suit was so amazing. So when I quit the suits that were in good condition, I gave it to one of the younger swimmers. Now my kids have tons of Speedo suits. Decathlon is a great brand as well because they've made the any sporting goods more affordable. Because if you're just training, you don't have to get the best gear. You need something that will last you, which is economical. So I think a lot of Indians are able to get that as well. So I would say those are two of the best brands. But technology has gone up so much now that a tech suit, they're called tech suits, they work on a lot of compression. They compress some areas and they don't compress some areas. So at the end of the day, you're very like streamlined when you're swimming, and it takes sometimes almost half an hour to put on. Sometimes you have like special gloves to help you put them on. So it's quite painful actually, the whole process, and very expensive. But I think it really helps you to swim fast. You feel great. Having said that, I would never recommend for a young kid, you're swimming like the heats of a state meet, you don't need a tech suit. Keep it for when you're going to try to qualify for a nationals, you're representing your state or your country, then yes, because otherwise it's a very tough sport, right? So you want to keep your finances down. So I really hope that brands like Speedo and Decathlon put more money and more, give our top athletes, whether they're junior or senior athletes, more funding and more suits, because an athlete has so much else to worry about. We need these companies to step in and help support these athletes.
So while coaching in summer, how do you manage to run a pool in Bangalore, especially with the water issues?
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, what we do is we typically make sure the pools we tie up with have their own bow well. We don't waste water. People think that the water is changed every day. It's not. In fact, being somebody who relies on water, we are very careful about our water. So if there's a water shortage, we ask people to have a shower at home. We actually had to remove the shower heads this year in summer and said, please have a shower at home, because that's where you tend to waste. We'd keep buckets with mugs in the toilet so they don't use too much. But in the pool, what happens, very little water when we do the suction to take out all the dirt at the bottom of the pool. Even that wastewater we reuse, either to water plants or whatever else. But we don't actually refill water. We just add in fresh water a little bit at a time. So it is tough, but we have to make it work. But also to tell people not to waste water. That's important, I think. And we are actually more stressed about this year. We've had the opposite problem the rest of the second half of the year, where we've had too much rain. So now we want the rains to stop, because typically when it's cold and rainy, the first sport you think of is not swimming. You don't want to be. Even though we teach at heated pools, people are still reluctant.
Because of the sickness and stuff.
And we tell people the best time to learn is actually not summer, because summer is very crowded. Even if you tell people, they still end up coming in summer where it's hot. Whereas if you learn in a winter month, you'll get more attention, more place in the pool, cleaner water. Everything is better at end of the year.
Who's your all-time favorite swimmer?
My God. I mean, I would say that there are quite a few of them. Right now, I've been watching, there's somebody called Gretchen Walsh, this one girl who broke 11 world records in 4 days at the last World Championships. It was a few days ago. So I think it keeps changing. Of course, Michael Phelps, you have to look at him and say he was amazing. There was also another 50-meter freestyle sprinter called Alexander Popov, who made sprinting look very beautiful. And I got to sit next to him in a bus one day. And I was just, in the World Championships, and I was above and beyond excited. But yeah, I've got so many. I think it's good to keep watching the new gen. Like there's a Leon Marchand. There's another new guy called Noe Ponti, a Swiss swimmer who did really well. Of course, Katie Ledecky, Summer McIntosh, different ends of the spectrum. One is very young, one has been in the swimming for many years, but they all inspire me.
Young women, a lot of apprehensions about their hair, skin, weather. How do you motivate them, and are there any quick fix now?
You get so many lovely skincare brands meant for Indian skin and meant for swimmers. So you get chlorine removal shampoos, chlorine removal body washes. You get something that is meant to protect your hair before you get into the water. So you just have to go online and Google it, and you can get very affordable brands. And I would say, just to keep it simple and not use too many products, the one thing I always tell people is, please use sunblock. You are going to get tanned if you swim in the sunny hours. Now, if you swim before 8 a.m. and post 6 p.m., you will not get a tan. So the myth has to be busted that chlorine tans me. what tans you is direct sunlight and the reflection of the water. So you get a strong tan. But if you go to Goa and you're on the beach, you'll still get that same tan, right? So don't be scared of swimming for that reason. If you really don't want to tan, go early or late in the day. But why we use sunscreen is not so that we don't tan. It's to protect our skin from skin cancer, which is the one big issue by being in the water for so long. Having said that, if you go to a pool, your skin shouldn't be burning, your eyes shouldn't be burning. So typically, go to a pool where you can see the bottom of the pool. Make sure that they are testing the water regularly. And there's no reason why you shouldn't swim. You know, I mean, the only issue is I know a lot of people don't like to set their hair after swimming. You really can't do much about that. I mean, for me, that's why when my hair gets a little long, I just cut it off because it is easier. But nowadays, there's so many products. You really have no excuse.
Anything that you recommend?
There's a lovely brand called Swim Care. They do a whole range. She's a swimmer herself, and her husband was in the pharma industry, and she decided to start this brand. So a lot of our swimmers use that. There's another nice brand which is only hair care. It's called Earth Collective. So it really like nourishes your hair. There's an oil that you put on weekends just to give it. It tends to get a bit dry. So I wash my hair every day, every single day with a shampoo, not too heavy. But the good thing I've done for my hair, which is why I've not had to color my hair till now, is zero coloring, zero chemicals on it. So I feel like I'm in the water enough, and I've still managed to keep a decent amount of hair. Things like hair fall and stuff really don't happen with swimming. If you have the normal skincare routine is more than enough, But use a good sunblock. I mean, there are so many brands that you can use where protect your skin. That's the most important.
And thank you so much, Nisha. I just loved talking to you. It was so inspiring and motivating.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.